So this house right here got on the east side, actually sent to us by a wholesaler. This would be our, if I'm not mistaken, I think this would be our second house from this particular wholesaler. He initially wanted 50,000. No, I think he wanted 55,000 for it on his with his assignment fee. I offered him 35,000. He turned it down. He said no, that's too low. Then he came back at like 50, and I was like 37,000. And he was like nah, and he said he got it under contract. Somebody made an offer for like 55 or whatnot, or whatever it was, 52, and then he accepted. I was like, okay, cool, no problem. Kept it moving. So we was looking for other houses. And then he came back like probably a week later, like, the deal fell through. Are y'all still interested? I was like, yeah, 37. He's like, give me 39 and we got a deal. I was like, bet. So we got the house for 39. As you can see here, good old Jerry doing the walkthrough so he can give us an estimate. His estimate after he did the walkthrough was 19,000. Well, before he even did the estimate, I set the budget at like 35, no more than 35,000. So we got it for 40, basically 35, put us all in at 75. The comps in the area was around 150. They had a house that sold on the same street for 168. Granted, it was very immaculate. Anyway, so I'm thinking, okay, the comps is very good in the area. Jerry came in, he said he could do the whole house for 19.5, labor only. And I think we had a little disagreement about, well, not disagreement, we was trying to go, I was negotiating with him with the 19.5 because I was trying to get it done for like 15. But he was like, nah, bro, that's too much. That's a lot of drywall and a lot of paint and a lot of whatever, a lot of everything, because it's a decent sized house. I believe it's like 1,450 square feet, 1.5 bathroom plus the basement. So he was like, nah, bro. Actually, I think he said 22. And then I was trying to do like 15, and then we worked our way to the middle to 19.5. But I was trying to get him to do the floors. Also, I'm like, I'll give you 19.5 if you also do the hardwood floors, sand them and recoat them and whatnot with poly. And he wasn't trying to do that, but he eventually said, all right, I'll do 19.5, including the floors. I'm always trying to get it done as fast as possible. He said 30 days. Fast forward, so 19.5 was the labor cost, and that included the usual new kitchen, new bathroom, paint, drywall. Well, drywall usually actually ain't the usual because most houses we buy don't need drywall, but this one need, as you can see, drywall damn near everywhere, especially upstairs. So this one needed drywall, the basement, paint the basement floors. Actually, I think this one needed a furnace and hot water tank. So that's separate though. That Jerry doesn't do that. I get somebody else to do the HVAC work. So I had to get a price for that. If I'm not mistaken, I ended up getting it done for like $2,000, and then put the house on the market. The house, it didn't even get any showings, so I don't understand. So this is a decent block. I'm talking about the block was real nice, and so this is one of the times I'm like, maybe I might have did the kitchen or something the wrong color, because I ended up going with green cabinets and a countertop with a purple hue, and it was a purple accent wall. And I'm just thinking like, yeah, I think maybe it's ugly, basically, to keep it simple. Because we didn't get no showings. And I had listed it originally at 159. No showings whatsoever. But usually, rule of thumb is if the house don't get no showings, it's always the price. That's basically what anybody would teach you as far as, when I was learning real estate. Even when I was getting my real estate license, one thing they always say, well, if you ain't getting no showings, no offers, it's always the price. And I was thinking like, yeah, I guess, but the comps supported the price that I listed it at. In fact, like I just said, a house just sold for $168,000 on the same block. But I will also say, comps changed. The price of houses was kind of going down. So by the time I got the house listed, comps went from like 151 to 160, 168, where I should say, to like 130. I'm like, wow. In the course of what, 3.5 months, the comps just kept dropping. Houses kept selling lower and lower, because the the interest rates was getting, higher and higher. So people couldn't afford as much. So they couldn't buy. So people had to drop the prices of their houses just to get them to sell. And so I had to do the same thing. So I dropped it to from 159 to like 150, and from 150 to 140, and from 140 to 130. I'm like, well, Jesus, and I'm still not getting no showings. I think after I got to like 130, I started getting showings, and then I got showings with no offers. Then I dropped it again to like 120, if I'm not mistaken, and then I finally got an offer. For what was the offer for? I think 110 or something like that. I'm like, whoa, no way. Because it was just like way lower than what I was expecting. Way lower. Like, come on, I was expecting 150, 160. So 110 is like, come on. Anyway, so I was like, nah, man, I'm gonna have to stick. I was like, well, what about 117? And they was like, well, it's a cash deal, this, that, and other, which was appealing because it is cash. It means we close real fast. I was like, what about 113? I think I said 113, and they said, okay. And so I'm gonna go over all the numbers. Like I said, the renovation cost was, labor anyway, was $19,500. But anyway, regardless of that, the total renovation budget or the total renovation cost was $35,975. I accepted the 113. I had to pay the agent out of that after closing costs. The agent commission was $33.90. Closing cost was $31.57. So left us with a net profit of $31,478 after, closing costs and agent commissions and everything else. Took Jerry he said 30 days, but it took him more like 7 weeks basically. And then it took the other guys as far as the HVAC and the tuck pointing and anything that had to be due outside. Probably that probably took a week. So altogether, I say renovations took about 2 months, close to 2 months. The house sat on the market for about 3 weeks before we got that offer. About 3 weeks or close to it. And it took probably a week to close. So the full time from the time we bought it to the time we sold it took about 3 months. Fortunately, we had 2 other houses on the market as well around the same time as this one. And one of those houses sold for $143, if I'm not mistaken, which was like 2 blocks over, which is crazy to me. That's another thing. Had another house 2 blocks over, same zip code, that sold for $142 on a worser block. If that's a word. Is worser a word? I don't think so. On a worse block, like the house next to it was falling apart. The house across the street was falling apart. It had an abandoned car. It was like a horrible block. Man, I had like 90 showings on that house. 2 blocks over, same zip. So I didn't understand this one. So that's what leads me to believe that it had to have been the kitchen that I designed. It must have, but everybody told me they liked it, but they could be lying. People be lying a lot. They'll just say whatever just to, they don't want to hurt my feelings or whatnot, but from the streets, hurt them. Anyway, my point is, I was very shocked that it only sold for $113, but it was a cash deal. The other house that I was just telling you about that sold for $143 was an FHA deal. And it took forever, but 143 is a lot better than 113. Then another house we had they all sold within a week of each other. So one sold for 143, this one sold for 113, and the other one sold for 114, which is crazy because the one that sold for 114 was way smaller. It was in the 48205 zip code, and that was a conventional mortgage deal, which took it's faster than conventional is faster than FHA for sure. Less headache because you ain't got to go through all the getting 2 appraisals and all that stuff and the repairs they be asking you to do. So that was good. Getting 113 wasn't as bad because we had the other 2 properties that also sold. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff. Also, make sure you go pick up my real estate book for kids. was called Real Estate Adventures for Kids. It's on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. It's gonna pop up on the screen. And that's about it. So another successful flip. People keep saying, is house flipping still profitable? Yes. I've been doing this since 2013. Have not lost money on a deal yet. Might not have made as much money as my goal is, which is like my goal is at least 30,000 per flip. Per flip. I think the least amount of money I've ever made was like $2,000. And that was because the house got broken into. This was years ago. The house got broken into, and the buyer was like being a butthole, which he did what he was supposed to do. Once the house got broken into, he obviously rescinded his original offer and then tried to lowball me by 20,000, and I ended up making like $2,000 on the deal. It was horrible. But anyway, that was an outlier. That was the only house that ever happened with out of the 82 houses that I flipped in the time that I've been flipping. But that's that. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.